Okay, so our partners especially sell between 5 and 15 competitive lines. So making it so easy to do business with us is helps them set preference. They want to set preference. So they say, okay, the margins with Avaya are better. I can make this incentive that I can't make with another vendor. And the product is one that can grow with the customer, so I can have a longer term relationship with the customer. And there's a services wraparound where I can make some money. But in order to get the partner to set preference, you have to make sure that they have the sales savviness to understand what type of customer to go after that's going to be the right customer for that solution, and also give them the tools that they can create demand. If they only are getting tools from the competitors, whether it's white papers or demand gen or attendance at a webinar, then they're going to set preference for the other vendor because it's easier for them to sell, because it's more top of mind for them. So part of my role in channel development and marketing is to make sure that the partner gives us preference more often than anybody else.
Yes.
And then that way they also will be able to move up in metal status, and the more they move up in metal status, because they'll have more expertise, the more sales you have, the more expertise, and the more revenue you have, then you're more likely to keep referring us as the number one vendor. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it's important to the aspect of I have to benchmark against how the other vendors are trying to gain their mindset over mine. And you know, some vendors do a really good job at the training aspect of it. And if you get them early in their life cycle, trained well on your products and solutions, they're going to sell you for a very long period of time.
Yes, so yes. It's not so easy to change to another vendor.
Not easy to change. I mean, we learned that when
there is a lot of investment in the certification.
Stuff like that. You don't shift partner preference from one product to another. It's ingrained for years, and there's a lot of value in that. So we also have programs where we go to the partner and say, okay, we know you're selling 5 different lines right now. What would, if you could bring 1 or 2 deals from this particular competitor over to us, we'd be willing to, increase the discount or an incentive, just so you could see what it was like to sell in that space, say networking or mid-market. And then that way they get a taste of the margins and the tools and the solution in a way that is, it's not your entire business needs to shift, but it's one deal at a time. Yeah. And then one deal at a time becomes 3 deals a month, and then becomes 5 deals a quarter and stuff like that. So that is something that we've been doing right now in the competitive displacement. We try to do all or nothing. Just give us one deal in the mid-market space that you've been giving to ShoreTel or MyTel. Give us one deal in the networking space that you've been giving to Juniper. Give it to us, and then tell us after that, what the experience was. And then what we've learned from that is you get them one deal at a time, and then all of a sudden they're setting preference.
Yes. What do you think is the opportunity that you can do more cross-selling between your portfolio, between the routing and switching stuff with US?
Actually, the greatest way to do that is when you sell the full stack, the best way to position it is that our solutions work best on our networking. So if you're going to buy our contact center or our UC team and customer engagement, they were built to perform at their utmost reliability and performance on our networking. So we have tons of use cases that show your contact center, our contact center on Cisco networking or Juniper networking will have more performance concerns than it would be on our own. So if you go the full stack and cross-sell and have more of the product uniformity, you're going to have a better outcome, less downtime, better reliability, and also the applications will be built for that the platform itself. So that cross-selling is something I think partners are just figuring out that It should be included in the deal. It shouldn't be a thing you go after afterwards and say, okay, 6 months from now I'll come back and talk to you about this. If you can get them talking about it up front, you have a much more, I think, robust conversation to see what they actually need. And then maybe it doesn't happen in the initial deal, but you've already set the conversation for the future in the cross-selling space.
Do you think that they can move more to the software side to build more value to the customers?
Absolutely.
And you can make some incentives for them to do that?
And that's what Richard was talking about with Grow Right. Our #1 incentive for the year, it's a significant payout to each partner. In just the partners that were in this conference, we paid out $5 million in Q4 alone. And so we're looking at a significant amount of payout that goes to specific applications and growth areas. So if you're selling in this space, then we're going to give you these incentives, and they're based on 30 for platinum, 20 for gold, 10 for silver. But we're incenting in the space that we know where the growth is to drive them there, and also to get them to get a taste of those applications, because the applications also keep a very the customer locked in to the solution, because they get dependent on the applications, whether it runs their customer service or it runs their inventory management, whatever application is critical to the customer. They're very unlikely to undo that application. But when it's hardware based, then it becomes a commodity. And then it becomes a box of the box of the box.
Yes,
but when it's something, when it's precious to you that it runs your business, that's different. You're not going to undo that. And so we want it to become more integrated into the business process, because then the customer sees a real differentiated value, and also we have a longer term relationship with the customer as well.
Yes, because you talk a lot about the business outcomes and this kind of stuff, and I think when you make the software, you really understand your customer, no?
Absolutely.
So the partner, but not the partners are ready to
I think there's a lot of them that are. We
Uh-huh.
also have a big developer community that writes to our software. And so if our partner selling community, so let's divide them up, developer community and selling community, they'll work with each other. And what happens is the selling community all of a sudden figures out, wait a minute, these guys are really successful in the vertical spaces, hospitality, healthcare, banking. And if they're doing that and right into the software, I'll bring them in, and then I'll sell the whole surround with it. But these developers are really very important to the sales cycle now, because the developers are building very specific snap-ins, applications directly to our software, and our software is open, which is unique in the industry. So then they like it because they are writing software that can be used, and it's going to be leveraged. So we have a relationship with our developers and our selling community that they connect with each other. We have conferences with them, we do tech shares with them, all about, okay, let's go to the customer together, take my vertical or application knowledge with your selling knowledge and your knowledge of the marketplace, and marry the two together.
And do you think that you can also work with the software community for IBM or Microsoft? Or
that's what Gary was talking about with the collaboratory, that software environment to write, like the app stores. We'll have a Snap store. So especially since we're open in our environment, we welcome people to write to the software and bring it back into their own environments as well. So we don't want anything that.
But from the channel's perspective, no, as you manage worldwide channel program, do you think that will be a specific program to engage new ISVs to this area?
Yes, absolutely. I believe ISVs are the emerging partners of tomorrow. I think they're the ones that are going to be integral in how we are going to be selling in the next 10 years. So the ISVs, to me, are the ones solving business problems, have the outcomes, like you said. They're the ones that are going in and saying, okay, wait a minute. In this situation, with this customer, they can build something very custom to them. but they're not going to do the whole surround of the solution. And then the partnership with the selling partner will come in and be very strong. So I think they're the emerging partners that are going to be very complementary to the community that we have, and we welcome them with open arms because we have an open platform, and in all of our cases. So it's a good relationship.
And another new idea that could be in the future for the channel programs, I see that, well, for example, in partner spaces, these partners that I mentioned you are tier 1 or tier 2, right. Premium or gold in different vendors. Exactly. They, for example, is a premium partner or platinum partner of IBM, for example. They don't, if they have a new idea to work with Avaya, they just want that Avaya recognize them as IBM recognize them.
Right,
they just,
at the same level.
Yes, they don't, because when you are new to another vendor, it's like you are a little reseller, but right. You're not a little reseller. You have very big business with government, very big business right. With banking, but all the channel programs of the different IT vendors just look the business with...
Well, can I tell you what we do?
Yes.
Change this year?
It's like when you are in American Airlines and you are Platino and you fly right. With another, you wish that they...
We made a difference in our program this year. We recognize expertise. So if the developer got expertise and UC and video and contact center, they could become a platinum regardless of how much Avaya revenue that they have. So we move from volume to value, and that expertise is more important to us than just the revenue. So that's what we're trying to focus on, because we know when you have more expertise, the customers are higher satisfied and they're differentiating themselves. So that's why we move the program, so they can come in and get metal status pretty easily with expertise.
Yes.
And not have to be selling for a number of years and millions of dollars, and then finally get the metal status. They can get it now by getting certified and with the expert badges.
Perfect. Okay, it's finished.
Yeah.